Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, viewers. Welcome once more to Requiem for Mercy. Our scene is set as the sun, ever so gently moving its way through the sky, or seemingly moving through the sky, begins to dip towards the horizon. The closer it gets to the sea, the more the clouds take on a violet shape. The shadows lengthen, and gold and violet and deep blues begin to paint the sky alive. Perhaps it is the change in the light, perhaps it is just Grace stirring from her fitful slumber, but she awakens where she was last. As she turns towards the windows and the curtains, ever so slightly moved by the breeze, she can see the beach from outside and the orange sun passing ever so closely towards the horizon. The illusion of time, the progression of life, as it were. What does she do as she gazes towards the sun and realizes just how much time has gone by since she passed out, since she last entertained the inspector earlier?
The first thing she does is startles. She's late. She's late for a very important date. A date with the dusk. Part of her ritual. Not only does she observe the dawn, she also observes the dusk. And she awakes with that startling of, shit, I've slept through my alarm. Quickly throws on a jumper and a scarf and then heads outside. She's not fully aware how far from the cottage she's allowed to venture without telling the inspector, and wouldn't want to make a bad impression on the first day. So she sits on the front porch, front steps of Monkey Beach Cottage, with the door behind her. There's just tries to absorb the sunset as much as possible. Again, as you described, the oranges and violet hues. Trickling away into the dark dusk, into the darkness of the night, when stars begin to dot the sky and Venus makes its first traverse throughout the horizon and up towards its zenith. But she's not at ease, not normally. Normally it's almost a meditative state for her to observe, to almost describe poetically in her own mind the occurrences that are unfolding before her eyes, the feelings on her skin, the wind, the coldness of it fading from the sun, the warmth of the sun fading into the coldness of night. Maybe it's the heartache initially that's making her ill at ease. Maybe it's the cottage itself, but she just can't seem to get into that headspace. She's distracted, infuriatingly distracted. She'll start twiddling the ring on her finger and try to focus herself, but is finding it increasingly difficult to do so. There's a feeling, perhaps a feeling of being watched, perhaps a feeling of not being alone, something that she's not come across before. But she'll sit there and wait until the night has full rain. Only the glow of faraway houses perhaps breaking the darkness of the night. Sits and watches. Maybe if it's a clear sky, she may see a shooting star, make a wish upon it. But once it gets too cold, in the cold she does still feel, she'll shrug into a shawl and go back inside, looking to make another cup of tea. As with entry into a house that is not your own, there is anticipation, there's anxiousness, there's ill familiarity. So she'll find herself going room to room and putting the lights on, something that she normally doesn't do because it's not polite in the society that she keeps. You never know who might have an issue with it, but seeing as she's alone in the house, is she alone in the house? Lights are on, she makes a cup of tea and sits at the table. She has nothing to do. It's terrible. She almost feels lonely. But there, they all find her, sitting at the table, hands folded before her, one hand resting on the saucer of the other, just gently caressing the handle of a cup. And she just stares down into the liquid. There's nowhere else to look.
And as you sit there, some time passes. Perhaps she distracts herself with something, perhaps not, but there is a anticipation almost, an unease that comes to being in a new place. As the wind from the bay, from the shores, rush by the house. Occasionally she'll hear an odd creak, perhaps the floor up, maybe nearby. But that sort of thing is to be understandable, despite this place being refurbished, given state-of-the-art accommodations for those who rent the cottage, for weekend getaways and summer retreats to spend by the beach with loved ones, away from the prying eyes, one's own little paradise by the shores. But the night does bring with it that heightened unease. And perhaps, just perhaps, that's what makes Grace think that as time goes on, the creaking noises seem to be getting closer. Maybe. Probably not, though, right? But maybe. She does not notice that a good distance away a man is walking in the dark. There are stains upon his shirt, but if anyone were to walk by, they would not even notice them, too caught up in their own thoughts, paying too much attention to everything dangerous about walking alone at night, except for the person who else is on the road, whose eyes they just slip right over, not smelling the blood, not seeing the pallor of his skin. As he crests a hill, he looks down at Monkey Beach and sees all the lights on in the house. He begins to hurry. Grace, from where you are, you will hear the door open towards the main entryway. This will no doubt startle you at first, especially how honored you would be. But as you go and look, you will see a familiar face, that of Brother Samuel, as he immediately drops his obfuscate as he does not want to catch his unknowing charge off guard. That would only lead to more trouble than it's worth.
She will be startled at the door opening, but quickly settle herself. She must remind herself at all times that she too is a guest who knows how many other people have keys, and she mustn't make a big deal about it. That would be rude. But as soon as she hears the door opening, she'll sort of just flinch out of the headspace that she was in. I can't otherwise describe it, but she was as bored as a butler with nothing to do. Now maybe at least there'll be some sort of interaction. So she'll stand and just stand by the table, almost at attention. And as she sees you come in, she might breathe a sigh of relief because, you know, it's not that inspector again. It's not some elder come here to give me a good spanking for being in this cottage without me knowing. You know, it's a familiar face. She's a bit more at ease. But outwardly, she'll just give you again that friendly look and of hello again. This is awkward. But I imagine you've got Blood on your clothes?
As he will just look and nod his head and return the greeting. The simple, hello. I hope this accommodations are to your liking.
Brushes the question aside, and just gestures at your shirt and goes, "Would you like me to wash that?"
Oh, no worries about this. I have a spare change of clothes in the car. Did that, as you'll remember, he actually doesn't know what happened to the car, actually.
Drive over.
Ah, thank you. I have some clothes in the trunk that I can change into. I'll probably get rid of these and bury them somewhere.
Again, she'll just sort of offer, "It's a shower. If you'd like, I can get your suitcase for you. Or backpack." I didn't notice you had much.
And again, it's this sort of awkward. He doesn't exactly know what to do here. He needs to be, I guess, respectful because of who you are. So again, he'd almost like go, "Oh no, it's no trouble at all. I can go get it. You should relax for now."
Very well. Does the light bother you?
No, there's well only one real source of light that bothers me in my time, but I don't think we'll need to worry about that right now. Have you checked out much of the house?
And she'll nod and rattle off the bedrooms and the furnishings and where the laundry is, where the um, things that you might be interested in, where the laundry is, where the shower is, the incinerator works. It goes up to this many horsepower for disposal purposes.
Oh,
Um,
he is a bit impressed at the amount of detail that you get. Again, it is mostly just an awkward moment of two individuals not exactly sure how to approach one another.
so, and towards the end of it, she'll say, and the outside is covered in these beautiful little pink tea roses. It's a shame that, and she nearly says it's a shame that you can't see it during the day, but she'll just stop herself because that's a bit rude, and she'll go, "It's a shame that the night doesn't bring them out as nicely as when I arrived." "I'm going to make another tea," she says, turning away because she's just inadvertently said something that you might take offense to.
He understands. He doesn't take offense to it, but it does remind him that, gosh, it has been a long time since he's seen like flowers garden in the light of the sun. It might bring a pang of nostalgia that reminds him that, I mean, for the most part, this is the one human that he's going to spend the most contact with, so, or at least for the foreseeable future. After all, he has a mission that he must adhere to. So he will try to make pleasant conversation as Grace goes over and begins making some tea with a strange faucet that he might take a second to look at. Perhaps wondering.
Yeah, she's still not used to it herself. Just to add a further divide as well, I'll say that as she's making tea, you'll hear her stomach rumble, and she'll just sort of look hungrily at the food basket that the inspectors brought, but she obviously doesn't want to eat in your presence because that would also be rude.
as,
But yeah, she'll make a cup of tea and sit down.
as you look at the basket, he notices it himself, almost feeling a bit bad that he did not notice it sooner. But again, this whole situation is very new, and it will take him some time to get acclimated to it. So he'll go, "Oh, have you had visitors?"
There was a inspector that came by and brought food. I assume he is under instruction from the same powers that be that initially met us at the church.
Ah, I see. Well, in that case, good. Good. It seems that the Reverend is true to his word about offering hospitality to you and I and the others who come to the island. As he'll now sort of awkwardly sit down to trying to act normal, but you'll notice that he's really not used to acting like this. In fact, it might have been quite some time since he sat down at like a dining table like this.
This is nice. And she'll just sort of, for the sake of politeness say, can I get you a tea as well?
No, thank you. I'll be fine. I had a heart.
I know. That's good. Will you be looked after in that respect? And she'll gesture at the basket of food, as in, will you be looked after as I am being looked after?
Yes, I have been given the assurance of the Reverend.
They're quite hospitable on this island.
They
I'm
are.
unaccustomed to it.
It is strange. They have been more than hospitable in some cases. And then he thinks for a minute, but then perhaps trying to engage Grace in a way he hasn't yet before, he says, have you noticed anything strange about these servitors of the Reverend?
The servitors of the Reverend, the people in the church, you mean?
Yes, I met one of those when I woke up from my nap. He was young. He was a priest there, very young. I believe he was the ghoul of the Reverend.
That is correct. However, as to his age of servitude, I can only guess that he is either quite new or quite apt in covering his true term of servitude.
From what I observed, he has an unhealthy awe. It's understandable that it is unhealthy.
I've not observed enough to make a further opinion, she says quite carefully, and just sort of sits the teacup down, slides it away from herself, and then just folds her hands in front of her.
What about this?
Are you? I'm sorry?
What about this inspector person, the one who brought you food?
Please pardon if you think that I'm being rude, and why do I need to report to you?
He'll take a pause to that, then he'll realize that perhaps, despite his best effort, he's slipping into the wrong mentality here. Without even realizing it, he's been addressing her like a servitor of the church, someone who's willing to answer any question. And realizing that, he will sort of look down, is a tad bit embarrassed and a little bit ashamed, and say, "I'm sorry. I'm I'm just I am concerned as is to be expected in a place like this."
You just completely buzzed out. Can you repeat that last line, please?
He just looking down, a bit embarrassed and a bit, a tiny bit ashamed. He'll say, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend. I'm just concerned. This is a strange new place."
Please, there is no offense. So there is nothing to forgive. I just simply wish to know why I was put in the car with you and driven to Mersey. And why you? I
As
would be
to
more than happy to be forthcoming with any questions that you have, provided you answer those to me.
Simon will think very hard for a brief amount of time about exactly how to put this, given expressive orders about exactly how much that he can reveal. Before finally deciding on saying, and Grace can obviously tell this, she can also tell that Simon is exhausted. Like, the way he holds himself, there's a little bit of a slump. It almost looks like he has bags beneath his eyes from exhaustion, but it's more just the look that he has in his eyes. He has been through quite a lot the past couple of days. And so it finally says, I can tell you about my purpose here, but as for the reason your Dominator sent you, your Regnant. Sorry, archaic language.
Please go on.
I'm a part of the kindred church, as it were. Our job is to ensure kindred remain on the straight and narrow, as according to our damnation. But there is near open conflict and warfare happening in London right now. A secret war between the different groups over long grudges and some very inopportune actions as of recent. By me hoping your Regnant, the one you enjoy the gifts of the throne from, I'm able to help my church, my brethren. All I can say in regards to why you have been sent here is that your Regnant wanted you to be safe from whatever happens. Take from that what you will. I have been very impressed with your intuition and your analytical mind so far. I am sure the answers will become apparent as time goes on.
She initially just gives a small upturn of the mouth, a small smile, and just say, he does spoil me. And then she'll get that longing look back in her eyes. And I'd say, Samuel, you're looking quite haggard and drawn as well. I think that it would be fair to say that you can see that she's got a bit of puffiness under the eyes, a bit of redness there, that she's obviously been sobbing. But she'll say, he does spoil me. Very well. I'm part of one of his business deals yet again. He knows what he's doing. And then she'll go back to the question that you initially asked and say the inspector gives a name, David something or other. The inspector was quite jolly, had more tea than I could really offer him. Didn't have any biscuits for him, but I dare say he would have eaten the lot. Quite friendly, likes to talk. She'll slide a card over with a phone number. It said to call should I wish to visit any other parts of the island.
His eyes will sort of narrow a bit as he looks at the card, and you can hear a brief, interesting. He says it is almost a sort of reaction. He probably doesn't even realize that he said it out loud as he turns the card over in his hand, looking at it. Before thinking for a few minutes and deciding upon something, turning to you and saying, I received similar warning and instructions from the Reverend Draper, the one who sent this invitation for sanctuary to those who wish it. He is the kindred who seems to be in charge of Central Mercy. He is most likely the one whose police officer and that priest are under the influence of, or actively working for.
It makes sense. Though I do wonder, perhaps it is not my place to. If we are warned off entering other parts of the island, perhaps there is competition between the Reverend and whomever else. Would it then not make sense that we present ourselves there also, even if it is to be shooed away?
The impression that I got from the Reverend is that he is very, very interested in us staying within his domain. Using that line of thinking, especially with what you've mentioned about this police officer, it seems that, yes, there very well might be some sort of competition, some sort of feud going on between these individuals. I did not get a name for any of them, but the one of them he referred to is Little Red, and the other is the Angry Sun. Take on that what you will. But there are two,
Keep
at
it in
least,
mind.
other kindred on this island.
Good to know. Thank you for the information. She'll take the card back. The inspector did also tell me of a local museum that details the history of Mersey. I was thinking to visit, if you don't mind.
That will be fine. I would highly recommend you going out during the daytime, though.
I intended.
But in that case, he'll think for a minute, and then he will get a very interesting idea as his true nature begins to come forward ever so slightly. And he'll look Grace square in the eyes and say, I was given rights to feed from the Reverend Draper's herd on the holy day of Sunday. And given this cottage, as it were, as safe haven, while you are free to come and go as you wish, probably as a tourist, for all intents and purposes, I am going to be a refugee under the protection of the Draper Fund. Apparently, it is a charity that he has to help displaced individuals, but this will be a fitting cover for myself, in case people learn of my existence and wonder about my reclusivity. However, this comes, of course, with a price tag. I'm to, well, I'm to not investigate into the good reverends as a personal business, which is understandable. That is the way our kind operates. But I was also given, or more or less asked, the reverend to not investigate other strange things that happen on this island. And I swore that I would investigate any strange goes on this island. But also understand this, because you have proven to be very, very analytical individual. We are in this together one way or another. And if it is within my power, I will do everything I can to protect you while you are on this island. If you understand what I'm saying.
Thank you for your concern. It's most touching. I'm aware of my place. And so I would ask you not to trouble yourself. However, being part of a bargain that is being struck, and perhaps still in the terms and conditions phase, very well, I shall remain with you. Never leave your side. Make it easy for you to look after me.
Oh no, I would not ask that. The last thing I would want to do is rob you of the light of the day, as it were. You are still living. You may tread where I cannot. I would not want to take that away from you.
I just sort of think about that for a minute, and the vein of the last bit of the conversation. So you intend to use me as a spy?
Of course not. That would be absolutely rude, especially in what could potentially be a hostile environment for the both of us. Especially when I have given my word that I would not look into any of the goings on here, but gave my word that I would do everything in my power to help you. Never. I would never ask that.
No, but you do make a point that you yourself made a vow not to look into things. However, those restrictions do not apply to me.
Hmm. One of our is to dismiss the strength of the human heart. I have made this mistake at least once tonight, and many of our kind do. But if there is one virtue that comes out of my faith, is that there is an inherent strength in a human mind, a human heart. Something that a lot would take for granted. Don't forget that. I must apologize now. I'm speaking in riddles. Uh,
And she'll just give you a kindly smile and say, "You're stronger than you think you are in your
I'm strong.
heart."
I'm strong because I am cursed. In truth, I am just like all of my kind, very fragile on the inside. That is our nature.
Even with everything that you've told me, how you're supposed to look after me, how I'm integral, I'm a crux in something that will help your covenant. You're still a kind man. You're still a good soul so far to me, and I would ask that you don't shatter that trust that I'm giving you. And I do trust you. And she gives you a long, hard stare, and you can see in those eyes that she is completely genuine. You've not given her a reason not to trust you. Matter of fact, she knows, and possibly in that deep and soulful stare as well, you can see that she knows how close you came to frenzying twice, and what will it expended for you to not tear her apart there and then. And she doesn't want to say it because it would be rude, but she just simply looks into your eyes and say, I do trust you, and I will continue to trust you until you give me a reason not to. on that note, I'll go to the little museum, see what I can see. Perhaps spin you a tale when I come back.
Again, Brother Samuel does not exactly know quite what to say. It's been such a long time since he interacted with a human, like on this one-on-one basis. For so long he's watched from afar, even his own touchstone back in London. He would merely observe as that fragile man went about his daily routine, having Simon silently had small mishaps happen to him to remind him that he is falling to sin, that he is losing his way. But it is very human to search for meaning if it does go off the beaten path. But it's also very human to express a trust like this, something he hasn't seen in such a long time. And even as, deep down in his heart of hearts, he's trying to manipulate her towards his own ends, there is this sense of disgust for himself, and almost like looking down in shame, he will look up and again, his eyes are just so tired, he will say, "Don't trust me, Grace will not. Trust this. I will fulfill the duty that I was given. But don't trust me and don't trust my kind."
She'll get up, wash the teacup in the sink, just let it sink in for a while, and really weighs her words, coming up her next few words quite well, and will pop the cup and the saucer in the drainer, tap the teaspoon a little bit, and then turn back to you and just say, "You may not tell me what to do."
No, no, I cannot. That is what makes you human. And if you do not listen to me, cherish your choice for as long as you can. That he'll sort of abruptly get up, and then he will walk towards the hallway before stopping for a minute and say, "Do you happen to know where the entryway to the basement is?"
And she'll gesture, having found it before. But instead, and then actually just put the keys to the car on the table with a jingling and just say, "Are you sure you wouldn't like a shower and to clean up first? You're in quite a state."
I will be fine. I will retire early this evening. As much as I loathe the sleep that is to come, it's what I need. Here, take it. Hold on to those keys. You will get better use out of the car than I will. And
Will
here,
you be safe throughout the day?
I should. I will take some extra precautions just in case. But here, you'll just sort of look around and pull out a notepad and a pen. Not necessarily the thing that one of our more modern proclivities would have on hand, but will nonetheless write down a number and rip off the tape and say, "Here's my contact information if you need it." I do have my own cellular phone, but if you need to contact me during the night, don't hesitate
Thank you. Most kind of you. And she'll take the paper quite graciously and just pop it on the table next to her. She doesn't want to be rude and take a phone and enter it straight away, but she will as soon as you're out of sight. And she'll just simply say, I might walk the garden. If you'd like to join me before retiring.
I'll join you. I need to fetch something from the shed anyways, or really whatever I can find. I figure I'm going to need to jury something for now.
If you need help with anything, I'm trained. She uses that word a lot, actually. She doesn't seem to think anything bad of it, but the more that she uses it, the more you realize that she has been trained. And if you do walk the garden with her, it's quite a comfortable presence for a while. She doesn't feel the need to say anything. She doesn't need to feel the need to sigh wistfully or something. She's just a steadfast companion, as it were. If you make small talk, she'll reply in kind. But I will say that, especially after the events that have been, she will ask a question, and you get the feeling that she doesn't want to ask it but can't not. And as you take a turn, perhaps she'll just stop at a night blooming jasmine or something and just caress the petals and just say, Samuel, do you know how long we'll be here?
He doesn't sigh, although if he was ever to sigh, it would be now at the look that you can see just barely reflected in his eyes. As he says, I honestly don't know. I hope it is not too long.
As do I. And you can see her lips start to quiver a tiny bit, but she holds it together. She has to. Wouldn't have it any other way. And then she'll just snap herself out of it and go, I think I might go inside now. It's a bit chilly. Unless you'd like something further.
No, I should be able to handle this from here. Just let me know if you see anything strange or hear anything strange.
Of course.
Margaret will begin heading towards the supply shed.
She'll actually take a few steps away, and then it's getting to that awkward phase again. And she sort of turns and goes, while I'm asleep, you will leave me be?
If you will just try and look at her, try to guess her meaning. Let's go with a wit plus empathy.
Mm.
Simon. It's going to be 3 and 1. Okay, one success.
Mm-hmm. So it's pretty much saying you're not going to jump me while I'm asleep and feed on me, are you?
But he'll actually sort of chuckle at that and shake his head going, of course I will leave you. In fact, if anyone tries to do anything to you while you were asleep, it will be my top priority to make that be the last thing that you regret doing. Well, the
And
first thing is,
you've just threatened to kill someone in a very painful way, and normally people would be shocked at that, but no. Grace will actually give you a kind smile and say thank you. That's very kind of you. And then make her way inside.
as Grace leaves, Simon begins to realize truly why the elder had placed such an importance upon his prized fool. She really is something else. She really is, Simon will think to himself. Perhaps one day she too would be embraced into the night. And that actually fills great sadness inside him. Someone like that doesn't deserve to suffer this curse, especially if it is at the behest of someone who doesn't deserve it. There is a bitterness there as he remembers the elder and the lengths that he would go to ensure that his prize was nowhere near harm's reach, and what would happen to those who failed. With that, he will turn his attention once more to the garden shed, where he will rummage around, finding everything that he can use to begin to make the Monkey Beach Cottage more of a safe place, as it were. Finding some duct tape, finding some impromptu materials and objects that he can use to subtly, not necessarily trap the house, but put little signs here and there that if during the daytime when Grace and he are away, they'll be able to tell if somebody slips in through the door or goes into the basement, the place where he plans to make his haven for now, potentially for his stay on Mercy. Enters Grace's room at night while she sleeps. Just everything that he can think of and everything that he can find. And for this, I'm going to go with a intelligence plus crafts roll. Does that sound about right?
Works for me.
Right? Would be 4 for intelligence, 2 for crafts. Dice pool 6. And you know, just because I've been having just stars a lot, you know what? No, screw it. We're going to do this. We're going all in. Rolling 6 dice. All right. 1 success. Anyways, so might have just went with the auto success, but that's what these rolls are for. And for the next couple of hours, Grace will hear Simon going to work, like putting little things here or there, like a strip of duct tape, a piece of string. Once he's completed, he will take a minute to sort of explain his goings on and his intentions, showing her that, if she absolutely needs to, here's how she can avoid these very hastily, but nonetheless modestly decent measures to detect intruders. Although we need to do something much more substantial in case somebody actually wishes to do harm. But for now, this might help just a little bit. For
She'll be.
She will be hastening away.
Yeah, no, she'll be quite impressed with your ingenuity. If you do show her how things, bits and bobs work and everything, she'll take it into account, memorize it all, and yeah, if you're gonna settle in for the day, she, God, she's a sob. She'll actually wish you good night and pleasant dreams.
Of course, he would. And as he begins to head below, let us go to Grace. What are your final thoughts as the night passes on?
As the night passes on, she'll attempt to have an hour or two more nap, like a proper nap, a proper sleep, rather than, the fitful tossing and turning, wallowing in tears and misery. Now that there's another house guest, she can't do that again. Now that there's another house guest, there's the face that she must have at all times, to be in control, to be kind and giving and generous, to be as she has been trained to. No more tears now. Can't afford them. It's not about you. She has to remind herself it's never just about you. And so as she bids Samuel a good night and almost wants to give him, a kiss on the head or something like that in a very, fond type way, because it's true that she has not so much grown fond of him, but she wants to show him a kindness that he's not used to, just to let him know that it still exists in the world. That more than anything is her function. that is something that he'll have to get used to about her. She doesn't want to be too forward because it may take years. But something that she feels about him is initially what she discovered when she was talking to the ghoul is like that she feels almost pity for Samuel in a way that he does beat himself up over what he is. That's plain as day, that's evident. But it doesn't help when other people beat up on you when you're already beating yourself up. So because she has nothing else to do, she appears and doesn't so much act because it's not an act, it's how she is. She attempts to be as kind and as giving and as forgiving as possible. When she said she trusted him, she did. She only said what she said mainly to gauge his reaction and just to make sure that it was said. Now that it is said, it need never be mentioned again. After she's had a nap or two and Samuel's taken her through the precautions he's put up, she'll encourage and thank and not so much like you would a child, like appreciate and compliment every detail, but certainly, build him up a tiny bit. He's beaten himself up enough. She needs to build him up a little bit. He needs to believe in himself. Otherwise, what else is there? But after having a bit of a nap, being showed the ropes, as it were, she'll again, with a cup of water or a cup of tea or something, just sit at the front steps and watch the dawn. And possibly that's what Samuel sees as he lowers the latch to the basement, settling in for a nap, as she'll just call, sleep well, over her shoulder. And yeah, again, he ends his night with a vision of her watching the sun, perhaps infuriatingly so.
In truth, Simon does not think too much on it, although it is picturesque. He wonders if she had been tasked to do that by her sire, or if she chooses to do so. But that is not his concern for now. There's too much going on in his mind. He has stumbled upon a mystery. He knows it. And he has been a watcher for so long. That is what gave him kinship with his church, what drew the attention of Father Manus originally, what gave him the closest semblance he's had to a sire. One who is cruel and powerful, but fair and just, in his desire to teach and show the proper way of existing in the Requiem. These thoughts enter his head as he descends into the basement, and much to the Reverend's description, he is pleasantly surprised by it as being prepared perfectly for him. Right now, it would be disguised very simply as a storage room for some of the furniture that is used upstairs. Lavish couches, a very nice bed tucked away into the corner in ways to hint that it is merely being stored there, but could realistically be used by somebody who lived below. A nice heated furnace nearby that could be locked shut from the outside. Pipes running through, the sound of water going back and forth, and of course, the old brickwork, out of place amongst all of the fineries that could be found. He even detects the faintest hint that some of the bottles of wine might have more something to his own taste stored inside. I even recognize some of the subtle lips that are put upon bottles towards him. Perhaps something bought from the mainland to store the UK. Maybe, maybe not. He will need to ask the Reverend. But then again, the Reverend has been very generous. too generous in Samuel's mind. There is something more going on here, but for the life of him he cannot tell. And that is what infuriates him most of all. For he needs to be the good watcher, the faithful watcher, the watcher who is willing to give everything for the cause, the friend in need, the martyr willing to take the blow. That is what he needs the world to see. That will allow him to see the truth of that which we shall hide, the truth that will allow him to fulfill his purpose as a predator of God. And as he lays in the bed, the weight of the cruel sun beginning to press down upon him, he feels himself drifting off into the day's sleep, not the blissful rest of the morning, not the grace the experience when she goes back to her room and begins to rest herself. Can't even remember what it was like to drift off to sleep. It's been so long, and he is still young at this time. For him, it is simply dying again, and the dreams that come, well, dreams that come are smiling faces, friends who wear masks to hide their truth, and dangers that lurk beneath. And of course, the shadow man himself always off in the distance. The great obsession, what led him to his damnation, his despicable sire, Blackwell. Just what is he planning? What did he do? What is his purpose for creating Simon? And strange scratching from the walls, from within the brickwork. Or maybe it was all just in his head. Maybe it was all just part of it. Right? Maybe. Just maybe. Thank you all for watching, and have a lovely night.